Hey guys, Omni here. We finally have our breakdown from New Rockstars for the Doctor Strange trailers that dropped yesterday for the Multiverse of Madness, and I'm excited to see what he found combing through this thing. Now, I know in my reaction, I didn't have a lot of time to spend breaking it down myself or combing through it because I had a lot of other things dropping because of the Super Bowl in general. There was a lot of trailers to get to, and on top of my usual Sunday batch of videos I have to put out. But I did, while I was waiting for some things to render, rewatch the trailer myself at half speed just to kind of see some of those things that kind of caught my eye on the first watch that I wanted to retread through again. And there's a lot of things I'm definitely curious about. I've already seen in the comments of my video that a lot of people are already pretty torn about their interpretations of certain shots, character reveals, and such. Then I'm very curious to see where Eric lands in the middle of some of these things. And throughout, I'll let you know my thoughts and feelings on it as well. But if you're not subscribed to these guys, go check them out. I highly recommend them. Let's jump into this. Here we go.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Voss, and this is a breakdown of the latest trailer for Marvel's Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, which assures us
I will always be there, old friend.
checkmate. We are getting an MCU Illuminati lineup, including Patrick Stewart.
Definitely seems that way.
What is this movie? I gotta admit, I've outdone myself on this one, folks. Analyzing this trailer frame by frame for details I don't think anyone else is insane enough to see or to talk about. And yeah, I'm also gonna include some stuff in the TV spot.
I wouldn't go that far.
And clues in the official poster. And thanks to Truebill for sponsoring today's
All right,
video.
cool. I was wondering if he was going to do the TV spot in the poster as well.
Every night, I dream the same dream. And then,
so the trailer opens in Strange's nightmare, a frightening hellscape covered in bones and skulls, dead trees bent askew, and in front of him, a representation of the Sanctum Sanctorum melting into inky nothingness like the other New York buildings we saw in the first trailer, all evoking the comic book ink melting of reality in What If Episode 4, except this isn't exactly Strange's sanctum. It's significantly thinner than we last saw in Spider-Man No Way Home, and it is one floor taller. The effect is a more gaunt structure, like a croaking haunted hotel. What was his healthy sanctum fortress is now a withering skeleton.
That was definitely a detail that was lost on me on my rewatch.
Eye, reminding us, of course, of the red edges of Wanda Maximoff's hex reality in Wanda Vision. This whole nightmare could be being projected into Strange's mind by the Scarlet Witch. Since the commercials in WandaVision were confirmed to be messages from Strange to Wanda, these two share a psychic link. Now, this Strange has a patch of blue sewn into the cloak of levitation.
Yeah, I thought that was new.
Patch on blue of Defender
I don't remember that.
America Chavez in a second. Blue versus red seems to be an important point of contrast in this film. Strange has been shifted from his normal red tones to blue tones, along with a lot of the settings in this to signal passivity, all to contrast Wanda Maximoff's red chaos and violence. Now, on the other side of the sanctum doors, there's a reverse shot of Strange's entrance from the first trailer. Now we see how the stormy sea has claimed the whole sanctum structure, save for the central staircase, which now extends up and up and up into nowhere like a trick luring one to heaven, except it's not. It goes into this hellish red eye. And at the base of the staircase, these weren't there. The past times we saw the sanctum,
yeah, that's true.
Two statues, one male, one female, both bearing torches, maybe representing the Maximoff twins. Then a teacup
Strange and Wanda.
Behind it looks like the
one did look like it had like a
now,
Egyptian headdress.
Wheelchair Professor X from the X-Men films, but I suspect a lot is going to be changing for whatever cameos show up in this film. Then America Chavez gets strung up in front of a star portal, which, if you look closely, opens up to endless more star portals within that portal. This is our best known power to kick open these star-shaped portals. And we might actually
I don't know anything about this character.
Right, we actually saw this same setting in the first trailer. I think it is her home reality, the Utopian Parallel. In the comics, the Utopian Parallel faces destruction from black holes, so her mothers sacrifice themselves, their particles dispersing throughout the multiverse, and the creature attacking her here may be, go with me on this, Madness, the Demiurge, who is the embodiment of Earth's sentient life, in the comics the original source of her powers, and we should mention is one final form of Billy Kaplan, Wiccan, Wanda Maximoff's son, which could be how this film ties the fate of Wanda and her sons to that of America Chavez. Then again, the Demiurge hasn't really been shown to be this hostile and demonic. Actually, another possibility here, this entity's ribbony appearance, like glowing electrical tape, could connect to Strange's spell, the Crimson Bands of Cyttorak, which he used to restrain Thanos in Infinity War, which could make this fella maybe Cyttorak himself. Now, the TV shot actually showed in this moment an alternate.
The runes are
Doctor
different,
Strange, hair tied
but
back in a ponytail with
still
stripes, saving
possible.
America Chavez from this thing, using what looks like a three-dimensional version of Strange's normal flat eldritch magic to hold off the entity, which would then lead to the shot we see in this trailer of that same ponytail Doctor Strange tumbling through a star portal, a shot that flips upside down to find us back with our Doctor Strange in bed. But is it our Doctor Strange? Because his hands are fully healed, when in past films, Strange's hands are always meant to be forever scarred and weak. There's an iPad left open on his bed, coffee filters into test tubes on his nightstand. Strange said in this part of the trailer that he has the same dream every night, Hell Sanctum, his alternate self saving a kid, and then the nightmare begins. So the nightmare might be this reality that he wakes up into, a reality where he never became a sorcerer, he never injured his hands, and really just aged into a lonely douchebag falling asleep with his Pornhub tab still open. Moving on.
The nightmare begins. I did what I had to do.
Now, when Strange says the nightmare begins, we should also acknowledge the possibility that the demonic entity Nightmare could be the villain of this film, as this idea was floated by the original director Scott Derrickson. The Marvel Studios title card turns purple and has tentacles snaking across the letters, evoking the limbs of Gargantos, but also one of the multi-limbed creatures in What If, which this movie seems to be showing the live-action versions of. In fact, on the poster for this film, in the lower right corner, one broken shard of glass shows this shield of Captain Carter, hinting that Haley Atwell may show up in this film as a live-action version of that character. Then
That would be
Dr.
so
Strange
cool, man.
conjures these red orbs. If we look closely, they're coming from the Darkhold on the floor there. That's Marvel Lore's Book of the Damned that appeared on WandaVision first in Agatha's possession before it was claimed by Wanda. That's why the magic he conjures is now red like Wanda's chaos magic, as we saw her conjuring in that final WandaVision scene. We could be seeing a depiction of the various universes being connected in this movie, with Doctor Strange trying to locate one world in particular. And in the foreground of that shot, that looks like that is Wanda Maximoff standing there with him. But then Strange, suddenly afraid, slams all this magic back into the book as if he's trying to hide it from the person in the room with him. And on that page, you can see a triangle, perhaps a symbol of Marvel's Illuminati, a location he wants to hide from Wanda Maximoff.
It actually, I don't know, like that, what he said could be the case. It could be a whole number of things taking that shape. But my mind jumps to later in the trailer, that shot of Wanda in the temple doing her little meditation, doing her spell thing. It looks like a person in like a meditative stance to me, like head to shoulders to the arms outstretched and a crossed leg pattern. That's what I kind of see looking at it. It is very blurry, so it is hard to tell, because we are kind of hyper fixating on these small details. So who knows what it is? It could very well be a symbol or just something wholly different.
For reasons I'll get to later as we move on.
To protect our world.
You cannot control everything, Strange. You opened the doorway between universes, and we don't know who or what will walk through it.
So Strange argues that he did what he had to do to protect our world. Our world, as in his actions saved his universe at the expense of all other universes. Strange
I didn't
used the
think
time-
about that. I didn't think about that. That's a good point. He did what he had to protect our world. And as we saw in No Way Home, he was only concerned about the state of our world, not really the multiverse or the worlds that those variants came from. Because as we know, at least some of them went back to their timelines in a state of mind, state of matter, state of existence that is counterintuitive to the timeline they were from. Because we changed things. Peter changed things, having cured some of them, sent them back to different points and whatnot. That in and of itself creates, going with the TVA expanse here, variant timelines. You know, we're seeing branch timelines being created when he sends them back, because they've already altered the trajectory that they were on by being brought here anyway. And, you know, he's just like, nope, I only care about our universe, so let's do what we need to do to send them back, without thinking of the repercussions of how that would affect not even just the characters themselves. He didn't really care about their fates. He was like, their fates are left to them. Let alone what happened because Peter got involved and changed things, and they sent them back in an altered state. What is that going to do? What is that? Yeah, he's definitely reached into some, crossed into some lanes that might be outside of his depth, but we'll see.
Stone to give his
just didn't think about that initially.
Advantage to undo Thanos' snap, and more recently, he used his magic of the runes of Kafkal to basically gaslight and warp society into a whole bunch of plot holes. Mordo warned us about this, that when Strange would push the laws of reality like this,
the bill comes due. Always.
And like Strange in that What If universe,
that's like a great callback.
Absolute point, this Strange's reality has begun to melt the same exact way and open itself up to interdimensional threats. We see a new look at this melting from the rooftop, individual bricks breaking off, cars floating in that blizzard, headlights still shining. Now the melting of the buildings here seems to merge into these black strands, reminding us of the Ancient One's dark branch timeline that she warned Bruce Banner about in Endgame. And here it's not just that reality is melting into nothing, but that chaos is spinning into one beneficiary destination. On to the next clip.
Wanda, what do you know about the multiverse?
Viz had his theories. He believed it was dangerous.
We'll touch on it here in a second. I'll let this play out.
Right.
So we see Scarlet Witch once again holding the seance in the Camartage courtyard. We know that's where it is because you can tell from the statues behind her, in the floor beneath her, the same tiling that we see beneath that Minotaur sorcerer later. We get a better look of him in this trailer. This is Rintrah from the comics. But yes, the Scarlet Witch is probably the one attacking Camartage, because actually in the TV spot, the sorcerers in that courtyard raise their shields to some floating figure overhead. I'm pretty sure that is Wanda. Now,
Let's rewind that a bit, because I don't see what he's saying at all. The shape doesn't look anything like Wanda. Or either of her outfits, old or new. Unless she manifested a cape out of nowhere. Which she might have. There might be an iteration of her walking around where she does have a cape, but that doesn't match her dress, her outfit, nothing, man. Now, they could be holding it up to an alternate Strange. That might be them getting ready because the cloud is coming over the gap, and Strange is also levitated and getting ready as well. I think that's Strange or a Strange, but yeah, I highly disagree on that being Wanda right there, but continue.
Shields to some floating figure overhead. I'm pretty sure that is Wanda. Now, compared to her look at the end of Wanda Vision during the seance, her Scarlet Witch wardrobe has evolved. Her sleeves now cover her arms fully, and darker tones streak through her chest piece and her tiara. Also, as we pointed out before, the tips of her fingers are black, similar to Agatha's fingers when she would use dark magic. And I like this right as we hear Strange say, Wanda. A shockwave blows out from her body. Now, in her orchard, if that is what it really is,
yeah,
Wanda tells Strange that Vision had theories about the multiverse.
See, okay, what I was holding back earlier was like, when did they, I'm just so curious, what would that conversation have been? Like, what would have brought up them? Have you ever thought about alternate realities? That there might be other worlds other than our own? Like, while he was around, is this Viz while he was alive? Is this White Vision? Did she maybe meet up with White Vision after she had already done this alternate world thing? Is this a conversation we completely missed or in Westview? I'm just kidding. It's definitely something you could talk about just out of curiosity. You know, thinking about the exploration of these mystical abilities, these stones of reality and all this stuff, the Mind Stone, the Infinity Stones in general, all the things they've run across, that maybe this conversation had come up at one point or another, but it's just like, I wonder what prompted that conversation. Random thing. Funny, though, that they've talked about this already, and he's already been like, Wanda, maybe you shouldn't have done it. If it was before, and Viz warned her about it, I don't know, it just kind of pushes her further down into her own little self-fulfilling prophecy of pain and chaos, if you will.
that was dangerous. So, despite Vision warning Wanda, she still created an alternate reality in that Westview hex, and now continues to peer through alternate universes to find her children. And yes, this peaceful orchard with sheep is probably an illusion, because later in the trailer, as Wanda points out the double standard of Strange breaking the rules and him getting to be a hero, Strange is wearing the same outfit as he is here in the orchard, suggesting that Wanda's actually in a much darker place in this moment.
And I want to kind of rebuff what I said yesterday to the trailer, because the way the trailer is edited, I feel like it wants you to be like, oh, snap, Wanda, hell yeah, you tell him what's up. And then I was like, and that's kind of where I was, because I was like, I couldn't really linger on it too much to really think about it all that much. And I've just also seen this repeated throughout a lot of social media here in the last day. Just like, yeah, Wanda, you tell him. I was like, to be fair, it's not a one-to-one comparison. You know, he did what he could to save reality. He didn't go out of his way. Sure, could he have been a little bit smarter about how he handled helping Peter to begin with? Like fact-checking what Peter has done to resolve this without the use of magic before actually doing the spell? Sure. Mistakes. However, it's not the same thing as if he was, holding an entire town of people knowingly hostage, torturing them, forcing against their will as they cried and struggled and wanted to break free, and just kept your clutches on them, having them siphon off of your pain and your grief, torturing these people, cutting them off from their friends and family, knowingly, just to hold on to a false reality that you wanted to have so you could be happy again. Not the same thing. I love Wanda, but that's not a fair comparison, man. It's not the same thing.
Both in her mindset and in her literal surroundings. Moving on.
I'm sorry, Stephen. Your desecration of reality will not go unpunished.
So Strange brings America Chavez and Christine Palmer to the ruins of what I think is the utopian parallel. And Christine wears this sleek blue outfit, and that's because this might actually be an alternate Christine Palmer whom Strange found working at Illuminati HQ, because the TV spot reveals Christine in these clothes plus a white lab coat in their detainment sector. Then Mordo, or perhaps an alternate version of Mordo that might actually be Sorcerer Supreme from his native reality, detains Strange using these nifty looking handcuffs. And I love the design of these because it's a mix of analog sorcerer machinery with runes engraved into that spinning lock in the middle, but overall they have this chunky silver chrome of something more futuristic, something that might be connected to the vibranium tech of these Ultron Sentries.
God, they look so good.
Sentries, who escort Doctor Strange in this awesome location that looks like a Supreme Court Hall of Justice. We see 4 kneeling winged statues, and then a warrior with a sword and a ring, the way a certain multiversal warrior, Captain Carter, emerged from a circular portal with her sword in hand. Now this whole interior, the glass ceiling, the curved staircases, the classic columns, is actually the interior of the British Museum in London, a place I've been to many times. I love the British Museum. It's famous for having the Rosetta Stone, one of the earliest artifacts that anthropologists have used to translate and decode, cross-reference old languages, which is super fitting for Charles Xavier to model his multiversal nexus point on such a cultural touchstone. Now, assuming this is Illuminati HQ, I find it fascinating the parallels between this and the Citadel of He Who Remains in Loki, which also had a lit tower, inner columns, and 4 statues in its central chamber, one of which was mysteriously destroyed. We never got an answer to what that was all about. Now, there are 6 chairs on the Illuminati panel, but we only see 3 members in this trailer. Could Kang have been a 4th member of the Illuminati who was cast out, leading to him constructing his own crude imitation of the Illuminati Citadel? A citadel,
maybe
a sham judicial bureaucracy of his own, run by 3 puppets. It's just a theory.
Now, if that is the case, I would have to imagine that the Illuminati would be aware of it and probably be like, maybe we shouldn't let that just kind of operate. I don't know. It is just a theory, as he called out, but interesting one.
We should tell him the truth.
Who baby. Yes, one of the biggest reveals in MCU history, one that we will be unpacking for months to come. Yes, that was the voice of Patrick Stewart, Professor Charles Xavier in the Fox X-Men films, now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a member of what is almost certain to be the Illuminati. Now, Marvel's Illuminati is a secret alliance of Tony Stark, Charles Xavier, Reed Richards, Doctor Strange, Black Bolt, and Namor. Black Panther was initially gonna be part of it, but he backed out. Actually, in Iron Man 2, Tony Stark had a little app on his phone labeled Illuminati. Fun little Easter egg there. But here, the Illuminati,
okay, cool. I never noticed that.
Seem to be
or heard
as
that
a
one.
multiversal governing body with representatives from across universes. By bringing Fox X-Men characters into this, they're building on the meta logic from Spider-Man No Way Home. Marvel Studios is now adopting formerly separate cinematic universes as mere universes within their multiverse and expanding to the Fox X-Men titles. But if Patrick Stewart is a representative from a separate reality, that could limit how much of that separate reality we actually see in this movie, and which other Fox X-Men cameo just yet. Like Ian McKellen Magneto, Hugh Jackman Wolverine, maybe not, but Ryan Reynolds Deadpool, very likely, as he has been long confirmed to cross over to the MCU, and now that door has been opened.
Also, they have said it is more likely for us to see Deadpool before, like Deadpool pop up in the MCU before we actually see Deadpool 3. So this could be a great place to put him up, even if it's just a little cameo, you know, just a little pop in.
I mean, this could also give us some context, finally, to why Evan Peters was cast as Wanda's brother, Pietro, in her Hex. Now, yes, the show producers did say this is just a Ralph Boner joke, but the logic is all in place now. We never saw Ralph after Wanda's
Stop digging
Hex,
that wound.
so it could just be as simple as Wanda's ability to warp reality might have caused her to pull the likeness of a Pietro from the nearest adjacent universe. Like, if Tom Holland Peter Parker were to die in the MCU and Wanda Maximoff wanted to create a pocket reality where Peter was alive once more, the Peter in that Hex might look like Andrew Garfield. If that makes sense to you, Evan Peters actually being Pietro from his Fox X-Men timeline, crossing over into Wanda Vision, could make an equal amount of sense. Now, meanwhile, I don't know if this is the Charles Xavier from the exact Fox X-Men timeline, whatever that was at the end of that series.
That's really hard to tell.
What was clear is that Charles Xavier died in the year 2029 in Logan after it was revealed he accidentally killed all the X-Men, or most of them. I think it's likelier that this Charles could be from a branch timeline within that universe, because time travel screwed up a lot of stuff there, let's be honest. He actually could be something closer to a live-action version of the X-Men 97. A version of
that
Charles
would be
Xavier that
awesome.
existed in a branch timeline and eventually discovered multiverse.
That would be
technology.
cool.
Now, yes, there are 6 chairs. So let's try to fill these chairs, who they belong to. 2 of the figures are seated, and 1 walks in with a cane. So I'm...
Hold on. Where do you get cane? I'm gonna back this up. Okay, I guess I can kind of see where you get a cane right there, but that looks to me either that could be it looks like a fold in his cloak to me, because it changes shape. Because I'm almost 90 to 95% sure that's Mordo, like from the shape up here, the sword on the back, like we saw already with him. I'm pretty sure that's Mordo. I'm pretty sure Charles is probably right here.
Chairs, who they belong to. 2 of the figures are seated, and 1 walks in with a cane. So I'm wondering if this could be Charles, who in this form has found his ability to walk once more. Now, the seated figure on the left wears a form-fitting suit that you could say looks a lot like the vibranium armor of Black Panther. And yes, this Illuminati lineup may include a new actor playing a variant T'Challa. However, I think this particular figure just looks a bit more slender in the arms, like Reed Richards. But that would also make it less likely to be John Krasinski. Yeah, let's be honest, he's jacked, Ryan.
There is that like lightish area around the collar of the neck as well, so which you could make out to be those teeth, those claws that hang around T'Challa's suit, or it could be the white collar associated with, you know, those Fantastic Four outfits, or it could just be, or it could be, it could be anybody else. It's hard to tell.
Let's slide over to that other seated figure who is hooded. Could this be Sorcerer Supreme Mordo? Or
I think that's Mordo.
Spectrum Monica Rambeau. Or were those Ultron sentries a clue that one member of this panel is actually Ultron Infinity from What If? Or that brilliant ship of Theseus?
I'm willing to bet that one he was just pointing at. I'll put $5 that it's that's the shadowy silhouette of Captain Carter.
White Vision from Wanda Vision. But my favorite version of this would be this could be a reality in which Tony Stark's Ultron protocol actually succeeded instead of turning on him, which led to him being able to evolve into the superior Iron Man, one played by Tom Cruise. We've heard this speculation for years, and now it just seems all possible, doesn't it? But let's focus on what Charles actually says here. We should tell him the truth. What truth? The truth that Strange maybe didn't do anything wrong, or that him becoming a sorcerer was a mistake, or that all of this is just some Kang exposed sham organization? Perhaps, but I think the truth here is that the MCU that we have loved all these years is not the core reality of this multiverse, that instead we have actually been living in an incomplete post House of M reality where mutants have been erased this whole time.
Not where I thought he was going with that.
See it as anything wrong. And now it is time to fix that. Let's move on.
See, I thought he was going to say that maybe it was just going to acknowledge that the MCU is the actual comic book designation. It's not like Earth Prime in this whole thing. It's not the actual main continuity of it all. And maybe that the truth might have been the comics of the original comics, the original 616. But no, he went with the whole, he took that to a House of M, we need to should have had mutants situation thing. That shot, while cool, makes me uncomfortable.
Things just got out of hand.
Okay, some real bonkers shit here. Doctor Strange and America Chavez
Dinosaurs.
alter reality with dinosaurs, a T-Rex fighting a Triceratops, but then to top that, they insanely smash into an animated cartoon reality.
Yes.
This could be one way doors open to crossovers with What If. This could actually be how the animated Captain Carter gets roped into this.
Now, given that the glimpse we got of that reality is it's still hand-drawn animation, maybe it's an actual, like X-Men, the animated series, or Spider-Man, the animated series, something like that. Because What If is clearly an analog. That animation style is not because it's its own universe, because we visit these universes. It's the stylized version of live action. So I expect we will see Captain Carter in live action. But let's say we wanted to bring over the 90s Spider-Man from the animated series into this. Would he be turned live action? Or would he be like Roger Rabbited into this situation? Would he be an animated character next to live action characters? I think that'd be an interesting thing to kind of explore.
Then Strange in America explode into cubic
Yeah,
puzzle pieces.
yep, don't like
a
it.
visual that looks like a mix of Drax's Reality Stone hit in Infinity War
Now,
and
so M
Quesada's
cover,
art
yep.
of the Scarlet Witch on the House of M variant cover. Some of their blocks look like stones from a statue.
Oh,
and
the
you can
teeth.
actually see the rows of Steven's individual teeth still intact in his gums on each block. On to the next clip.
You break the rules. Look out! To become a hero. I do it, I become the enemy.
So yeah, it looks like Wanda will invade Illuminati HQ and get into a huge brawl with someone who looks like they're going binary the way Captain Marvel does. But if you look at that person closely, this is a woman of color. Now, I know some of you think this is Tom Cruise with a goatee.
Yeah,
but
I've
that's just a
seen so
contouring
many
of her
people
cheeks.
saying that.
Tom Cruise's figure is not this womanly, folks. This is definitely either Monica Rambeau or her mother, Maria Rambeau. Maria
That's
Rambeau's
where I
call
am
sign
with
was
this one.
Photon, and in the main MCU, she died of cancer during the blip. But in WandaVision, Monica Rambeau powered up into the superhero we assume will either be Photon or Spectrum, and the moment that happened, her body was split into several alternate selves as she passed through that hex wall. And I think one of those alternate selves could be this one we are seeing now.
What? Okay, that's a stretch, quite literally. That's what's happening there. Those are all the same. She's not getting split into selves. That's Wanda trying to alter her. I mean, even if it did create another one, it's not going to just jump her out of 616. Yeah, no, I'm willing to bet. I mean, I'll put money. I'll put money that that's an alternate reality Monica. Not Monica. I actually think it's probably going to be Maria, but one of those two. I think it's definitely going to be one of those two, and from another Earth, not something Wanda actually created. So Anyway, yeah, I definitely I can't make out. I don't think this looks anything like Tom Cruise. I don't see the superior Iron Man like design of it. I mean, it could be. It could just be the coloration, the contrasting, but I definitely think this is Photon, Spectrum, someone of that type. That's where I'm leaning into this one. Not saying that we won't have a superior Iron Man on the council, but I don't think that's who this is.
If you think about it, Monica fighting Wanda seems to be the most epic collision, considering these two were both there for the Battle of Westview in WandaVision. Then we see the attack on Kamar-Taj in the tea room that we saw in the 2016 film, including Master Hamir returning from that film.
Oh, hey!
And a close-up of America Chavez gives a good look at her wardrobe. Stars embroidered on her jean jacket, along with the phrase "Amor es amor," love is love, and a flag pin signaling some LGBTQ plus representation. Gargantos throws the bus with an ad on the end for La Llave Coffee, the key, with the tagline "Unlock a better day." And then over to the left, a phone booth has an ad for Celestial Tea, the
It's so funny that that's being
Then
chucked
I
at
love
them.
This shot. Strange looks up at another alternate sanctum with a statue out front, a statue that has no facial hair, though in this New York,
And the high top,
greenery
the
and
OG high
oddly
top
curved
collar.
wind turbines cover all the buildings, and white flowering trees line the streets, trees like the ones in Wanda's fake orchard. So in Strange's nightmare, we saw the darkest timeline. Here, this looks like the brightest timeline, where a variant Strange has used his powers only to better society. Moving on.
That doesn't seem fair.
Okay,
Such a good
interesting.
shot,
Two
man.
Wandas meet each other, and this is Wanda's Westview house in WandaVision. You can see two scooters in the background belonging to her sons, Billy and Tommy. One of their baseball gloves on the floor there. But this place is wrecked. The staircase handrail, the balusters are broken, as if there was a fight between these two Wandas. And the standing one is the one who is barefoot. Youch! I actually wonder if this kneeling Wanda tried to recreate the Westview hex to have her children once more, but failed. And now, defeated, she's letting the darker side of her identity take over. If you think about it, the last time we saw her in WandaVision, her consciousness was split into two conscious selves. Something people who astrally project normally can't do. There was one in casual wear brewing tea, and then the other one in the Scarlet Witch form searching for her kids actively. And now I am wondering which of those two is actually the deadlier threat. The one who's searching for her kids, or the one who's just sipping tea, not giving up? We see that shot again of Mordo striking Strange's cuffs. Now I'm wondering if Mordo might be doing this on purpose to free Strange so that Strange can help them fight this invading Scarlet Witch. But it might be too late because a huge explosion from red chaos magic tears through the HQ, leading to these elaborate fireworks as we think Rambeau's form gets blasted through that explosion. Then this other sorcerer uses a sick move with a lasso to attack Gargantos. The TV spot actually showed America Chavez beneath this gross underbelly, and in these close-ups you can see how each of its tentacles suckers are actually barbed with teeth. Ugh. Then this gnarly shot of Wanda aiming red chaos magic. She's at the doorway of Illuminati HQ. Her face is bleeding like crazy, and separately she has black ink stains on her shirt. Behind her in the distance looks like one of the bells of Kamar-Taj. Perhaps after sacking that location and holding her seance there, she used that to access the gateway to this compound. But why does she want to get in here? Well, when the camera zooms into her eye, there's a brief image of two holding cells.
Oh,
These are
no.
Illuminati detention cells. Doctor Strange was cuffed in one of these, and in the TV spot, Christine Palmer works among other techs who hold America in another cell. So I think the reason Wanda hasn't been able to find a reality with her sons, the reason why her attempt to recreate Westview didn't work, is that the Illuminati are detaining Billy and Tommy here in these two cells. And for Wanda, that's especially infuriating because it's exactly what Hydra did to her and her twin brother, locking them up in adjacent cells. Like in the comic House of M, all of this madness comes from a denial by Professor X and by Doctor Strange to allow Wanda reality with her children. And it's gonna end with Wanda drastically warping all that reality, but in this case, I think a restoration of mutants alongside Avengers in the MCU. On to the final clip.
That's so fucked, man.
So we end with a version of Doctor Strange and Wong on this snowy mountaintop trying to rein in these demonic figures. These beings look like they're actually made of the same inky texture that the buildings and the other surfaces are melting into, as if this is the chaos that it's all bleeding into. Now the TV spot actually shows Strange facing another peak across the way with some winged devil at the peak of it. That spot also shows a close-up of Strange whose face is rotting away, looking a lot like his zombie Strange self in What If Episode 5. I pointed out because the TV spot also includes a shot of Wanda looking especially zombie-like. Now, while Zombie Strange in that episode got devoured by ants, Zombie Wanda survived and she returned in the final episode. So I don't know if these are zombies as much as they're just animated corpses, but it is insane to see their souls so strong that they can keep their bodies intact long after their flesh should have expired. The final shot shows this rotting Strange blocking a rift into darkness. Dozens of inky skeletons trying to shove out past him as skeleton arms fan out behind him, evoking the images of Icon pose that he formed when fighting Thanos in Infinity War. Now, counteracting that spell was the one time we saw the Soul Stone being used in the MCU, and I find it interesting that Strange's soul is all he has left. The film title comes together from hundreds of pieces, like the shattering and reassembling shards of reality in this movie, but this is the third title design we've seen. It's almost like the studio wants us to constantly reframe the reality in which we see this movie every time they talk about it. So folks, you gotta check out our new merch options, including 2 sick
I just picked up that word search one actually.
Follow me on Instagram and Twitter.
So yeah, man. Yeah, man. There's definitely a lot of room for interpretation, as there usually is with these trailers. There's some great like educational leaps we can make for a lot of these things, but I think we're just destined to disagree on some of these until we see more, until the film comes out. But guys, what did you think? What are your thoughts? What are your theories? Sound off the comments. Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video. Make sure to follow New Rockstars. Subscribe to them if you're not already. Check out my socials. Links to all those are down below. And before we go, I want to shout out our channel legends: Bandy Sherritt, Ryan Karen, Jason Coleman, Billy Vane, Yori Korskov, Margaret Grace, Mary Bradley, Nate Prouty, Emo Slytherin, and Melita. Thank you guys so much for your continued support. But that's it for this video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everybody.